What up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your guy, Sum. Hit the keys. Here today to bring you guys a quick review and demonstration over Cr8 Sampler and Cosmos Sample Finder. Waves basically just dropped two new plugins, and as the names would suggest, one's a sampler and one's a sample finder. Cosmos is free, and there is over 2,500 royalty-free samples in it for you. And then Cr8 is only $9.99, and you can do a whole bunch with it. Make sure if you guys like this content, though, you drop a whole elbow on that like button, hit subscribe and that notification bell, so every time we bring you guys a new video, you can be the first to see. But let's go ahead and get right into this review. Sum, hit the key. All right, guys, so when you open up the plugin, it's going to look like this. Well, at least this is what Cr8 Sampler looks like. And then if you don't get Cr8 Sampler and you just get Cosmos is going to look like this. It is standalone. But if you do get the sampler, you can use Cosmos in the plugin. So all you do is tap that button right there and it pops up and it gives you this view right here. So let's go ahead and move this over. We're going to mess with Cosmos for just one moment. When you look at this, basically it has a whole bunch of samples and the sampler is smart. So even when you load up your samples, it's going to figure out what your samples are and put it in the proper category, whether it's a drum, whether it's electronic, whether it's hi-hat, no matter what it is. So you can test out all the sounds by just listening to them by pushing play. So we'll get rid of that one. Let's go ahead and just hit something that is wet. That's what she said. So again, they got all kinds of different samples up in here. They've got instruments, they've got percussion. You can look at them in different views. You can go right here and you can look through everything here as well. So, you can go through synth sounds. So they've got some pretty nice stuff. In order to use it, you can either drag and drop it into your playlist like this, or what you can do as well is you can come back in to the actual sampler, and then you can open it up in the sampler or drag it and drop it into the sampler. So let's go ahead and open that sampler back up for just a moment. Boom, we'll hit Cosmos again, and then you can just basically drag and drop it over here like this. It'll take 1 second to recognize it, and bam, it'll recognize it. So what we're gonna do first is I guess I want to show you one more thing as well. What's cool about this, and obviously you can tell where they got this from. So basically they have this view right here, and you can go through all the sounds basically and audition them by just clicking on these dots. And so that's a nice feature as well. And then once you find it, you can just grab it and drag it, or you can grab it from right over here and boom, drop it right into the playlist, and so that you have it. So that's a nice little feature as well. But let's go ahead and hop into Decent Sampler. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a drum break, and we're going to use that to start off the demonstration. And then I'm going to show you some stuff that you can do, like how you can make pads, how you can use it like a typical sampler, and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and bring this up one more time. And let's go ahead and find a drum loop. So I'm going to type in drum loop. All right, so we're going to go ahead and grab this drum loop right here, and we're just going to drag it and we're just going to drop it right over in here. And so now let's go ahead and close this out. So when we're looking at the sampler, it's got a whole bunch of different stuff that you can do. So as you can see right here, it has play and it has launch. We'll get to that here a little bit more later. And then you have different ways that it breaks down these loops. So in order to play the loop, basically you're just going to play, your keyboard just as you normally would, or paint your MIDI in as you normally would. So C is what it's going to start on. But the way that you break this down, the different ways that you use it, it's going to sound a little bit different. So you have basic, you have melodic, you have voice, you have classic, you have harmonic. And it sounds a lot more different when you're using like melodies and stuff like that. So again, we'll go through all that. And so then down here, you basically have your gain, and then you have your tune, so you can tune it. And then over here, you have like your root notes, your BPM, whatever the BPM of the sample is. You can obviously change that as well. And then right here, you have your speed. You have a button right here. It's called freeze. And whenever you freeze it, it's going to basically freeze the sample wherever you want to freeze it at. So if I push freeze, it's going to give you that noise. But if I start moving the offset over, it's going to freeze it wherever I leave it offset at. You can also go backwards. So what's cool about that is right here, you can see that you can make the chop whatever you want the chop to be. So let's go ahead and just chop this part right here. And then let's go ahead and pull this over here. It's probably not going to be in time, but I just want to show you guys something that's pretty cool. So now let's say I push down C. You see how it's going in reverse? But what about if I hit this back and forth button right here and I hit it? So that's a pretty cool effect. You know, it's pretty dope as well. And so then you have like width, you've had pan, you got volume over here. That's all pretty standard stuff, but I'll turn that width on for you so that you can hear it. So you can hear how it gets wider. You have a filter, you have your cutoff and your resonance and all that down here. So let's go ahead and just mess with the filter. You got 4 different filter types. You got low and high, you got a band pass, and you got a peak. So let's go ahead and turn this filter on. You have resonance, and then you have drive, your distortion. So you can get some pretty cool sounds with your actual sample. Then you have ADSR over here. It's pretty standard. Down here at the bottom though, this is where it gets fun. You have different modulations and you can send the modulations wherever you want. It's like your cutoff, your resonance, drive, attack, tuning, anywhere you want to. And so they give you 4 different LFOs. You can either use a LFO or a step sequencer. And then you have 4 different ADSR controls over here as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to load a sample into here, and we're going to mess with the sample. So this sample right here sounds like this. Now what's cool about this is that I can make this sample into like a different sound or a different pad or something like that. So again, this is what this sample sounds like. All right, so that's pretty cool. So now what I can do in order to make this sound like a pad is I can freeze it. So now it's going to sound like this. Sounds pretty doo-doo, I already know. But now we can move this offset until we find a spot that we like. All right, so now we have the spot that we like. It sounds like this. So nothing too fancy, but if we move, you know, the keys down, obviously it's going to sound more paddish. All right, so now let's turn this filter on right here. Now once we turn the filter on, so now we're kind of cooking with some sauce. So now what we can do is we can come over here to like our LFO and we can drag this onto our cutoff. So let's go ahead and drag this onto our cutoff. And what I want to do is, as you see right here, there's this little button right here that says M1. This right here is going to control the actual, the LFO. All right, so now what I can do is I can turn this up and you'll see this little purple around here. That's what is basically the knob for the actual LFO. And it's going to sound like this now. All right, so now we can take it one step further. We can throw another LFO on that same cutoff. And what we can do is we can make it a step sequencer. So let's go ahead and pull this down to, I don't know, we'll say eight steps. And then we'll just draw up on the sequencer. All right, and so now it's going to be another little purple, letters M2 next to it, and we're going to turn this up a little bit, and now this is what it sounds like. So then we can turn it up even more if we want to. I guess Norton's telling me my subscription's canceled. They don't care about the demonstration. Norton, that's why I don't mess with you. So that sounds pretty dope, And so then you can mess with the attack as well, to get it to sound even more patty. One thing that's very important that I didn't show you guys yet either is up here at the top. If I come over here and I hit this and I just drag it over, it's going to copy that over for me. So boom, now I have 2 instances of that. You can create up to 8 different instances. There also is a mixer level up here, so you can go into all your levels, and then as you're looking at everything, you can mix your tune, your width, your pan, your volume, and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and make this go up 12 cents. And so now this is what it's going to sound like. And so what's cool about this as well is that, so when I go back in here, I can change all the effects on each layer. So I can come back over here and I can mess with the cutoff on this. I can change the pass, and then I can mess with the cutoff and make it sound different. And so with everything else, I can change all the effects on each individual layer. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to change this back to 12 so I can show you guys how to chop samples in this. So in order to chop samples in this, basically you're going to, copy over a few different levels. So let's say we'll just copy over 3 for the sake of time. And then you're going to put the chops wherever it is that you want the chops. So, for this chop, I want this one to start, obviously here on 2. I'm going to have this one end on 3. And then I'm going to add one more chop. That's going to be this one right here. I'm only showing you this because, it's a sampler. You want to know how to chop samples in it. So these chops aren't going to be perfect, but boom. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hit this keyboard button, and it's going to take us to a whole completely different screen. So in order to set the chops up, you have to assign the chops to a key. So in order to assign the chops to a key, you're basically going to come over here to where it says pitch, and you're going to put it wherever you want it to go. So you see how this shade is changing. We're going to put this first one on C3. We'll put the second one on, D3, and then the last one on E3. And then we'll put this last one, obviously, on F. And so now we can basically, play the keys like we're chopping it up. So, you have. So the chops were absolutely horrible because I didn't get them lined up properly. But basically with this sampler, you can do a lot with, a little, and it's only $9.99. So I would definitely recommend at least going over and getting Cosmos, because you're going to get 2,500 different samples. There's some pretty solid like 808s, percussions. You get choruses, you get vocal vox, you get a whole bunch of different stuff. You get different bass guitars, whatever genre it is that you're doing music in. There's definitely samples in there for you. So I can't stress enough, run over to Waves, grab it. I will give you all this little tip or a little secret as well. When I bought the plugin today, Waves only charged me $5.61. So I didn't even pay the full $9.99. Don't tell them, I don't want them to come back after me. But that might be more incentive to go check it out, because if you get it for that $5.61, you might as well snatch that up. So make sure if you guys like this content though, you drop a whole elbow on that like button. Hit subscribe and that notification bell so every time we bring you guys a new video, you can be the first to see. Appreciate you guys' time as always, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Hit the key.